I was told I should start. My name is Siegfried Leffler. I'm the GIZ director here in Brussels. Greetings. Warm welcome to all, especially to our speakers. And I'll introduce them very briefly, but then my colleague, who will then take over the moderating part, she will then go into details. First, Abdel Karim Gergashi, BMCI Morocco and part of the BNP Paribas Group, Director of Strategy, let me put it up, Strategy, Quality, and CSR. About that. And we have Manfred Bürmann from the Commerzbank Group. He's Director HR, Products and Strategy, and I know there's another one, Diversity Management. And Malin Elander Ojero, who is from the EU DG NEAR and responsible for. There we go. Fantastic. So you all, three of you, most welcome. Welcome again to all of you all to our newest edition of our C4C. C4C is our Capacity4Change event. This is GIZ's event where we try to enrich the policy debate with experiences of the field, and that is our contribution to this debate. And we do that quite regularly, at least 4 per year. We try to do more if topics are there. And our colleagues, who are a very precious, our colleagues and partners who are always a very precious resource, have the time to come to Brussels. We always feel it worthwhile for many reasons. So today, a very relevant topic, addressing the significant gender disparity in the labor market of the MENA region, which has the world's lowest employment rates of women. One more statistic which I got from my colleagues is that 50% of young female university graduates in the MENA region are unemployed, and so contribute, if you will, to a malfunctioning of development, which we hope and we think and we're all convinced that does lead to a more sustainable development of the region. So within the program, which is funded by the German government, a program called Promotion of Women's Employment, and together with our partners, 2 of them are here, from the private sector, we want to showcase and discuss how such partnerships can actually strengthen the role of women's participation in the economy, and how they can take an active role in the labor market. So far, so good. Before I let you deliberate further and listen to our colleagues here present their experiences and the challenges they encounter, I want to refer to the fact that we're recording this event, and if you do speak, you will please be asked, and please don't forget to speak into the microphone. So, without further ado, and oh yes, and I'm very sorry, I will not be able to stay, but I'll be third. Otherwise, and without further ado, Maria Losada, who is a team member, is that right, of the program, or a competent leader, coordinator, that's it. Please, Maria, the floor is all yours, and thank you very much for being here and interesting presentation.
Thank you. Also from my side, welcome to this session about partnership for employment, private sector for gender diversity. I'm very excited to be here. And speakers were already welcomed. We just at this moment want to add another speaker of the panel, which is Hildegard Vogelmann, which is the program director, and we'll join later together with you in the panel discussion. Briefly overview of the agenda of the day. Well, the introduction we have just had already. Then we will jump directly to a small presentation so that you know what we do for promoting private sector development and employment of women in North Africa and the Middle East. And then we have a presentation by our 2 partners, the BMCI, BNP Paribas, about the gender diversity project that we did together. and Commerzbank. They are also our partners for an international exchange platform on gender diversity between the European Union and North Africa. And then finally, the European Commission, BMCI, talking about the EU initiative for financial inclusion, fairly related also to private sector development and women's employment. And we will have like a small question and answer after each presentation, but please reserve your most interesting questions for the panel because we will then all together ask the most important part of the discussion. All right. So then we go.
No, you just start the presentation.
Maybe I just start. I mean, this is for supporting the ideas. So, I mean, we were talking about employment of women in North Africa and the Middle East, and we heard about some challenges that lay ahead for women's access to better jobs and to jobs in general. And I would just, before we enter to that, I would like to highlight some potentials of women in North Africa and the Middle East. Is like if women have increasingly the same level of education as men. In some countries, like in Tunisia, there are more female university students as men. And for some promising sectors like ICT and STEAM jobs, in some countries, again, like Tunisia and Jordan, we have more female students than men. This is a huge potential for the companies, and this is a talent that should not be missed. And this is where our program starts, trying to bring together the talent available in companies and trying to, let's say, support companies reducing the barriers that women might face entering the job market. These barriers, we know them from Europe also. We talk about stereotypes, we talk about glass ceiling, we talk about lack of flexible working times, we talk about childcare facilities, but we have the expert with us today that will show us how can it go. Just to, what is our project? I mean, currently, the objective is for promoting women's employment, and we use gender diversity management. I will come back to that a little bit later. We work as of today with 24 companies in Egypt, Jordan, Morocco, and Tunisia, and all combined, they have more than 30,000 employees. And you see, I mean, this is the disparity. Of course, we have more or less women working in these companies. But again, this is the big picture. Each company is different. We have like medium, large, and local companies and subsidiaries of multinationals in our partner structure. And we have companies like only 5% of working women. We have companies with 90% of working women. Each sector, each company is very different. And we look that we find solutions for this diversity of partners. And just to have a look at the sectors, we have all sectors combined. We have textile, food processing, IT, telecommunications, banking. Today is a banking day. And of course, automotive sector. This is just to give you a picture with whom we work and how these companies look like. Now, what we do or how we do it. Well, for promoting women's employment, we use a business-oriented approach, which is gender diversity management. We're going to hear about that later. Gender diversity management is about creating equal opportunities in an organization. Just this small overview, but because I'm sure the colleagues will talk about that later. And how we do it is we work with these companies, we support them in designing and implementing projects. public-private partnerships. There is one contribution from the GIZ side and one contribution from the partner company side. And these projects, these gender diversity projects, are oriented either to recruit more women, to retain women in the workforce and improve their working conditions, and to advance the career of female employees. Just to give you an example, this is a company in Jordan, architectural engineering company, employing around 130 employees, and 37% of them are women. And they were very much concerned because women were leaving the workforce, especially after maternity. So we support them to introduce flexible working arrangements like flexi work, like teleworking, and even we introduce with them parental leave for fathers. And this is what you see. At the end of the project, employees were happy. They weren't leaving the company at the same day. They were returning after maternity leave and did have time to take care of their families without salary deductions. Another example from Egypt, this is a German authorized service, a company which belongs or works with Mercedes, with car maintenance. They have about, I think, 260 employees, and I think 6% of those are women only. And what one of the activities we do with them, this is a running project right now, is like to help them attract talent and future generations of employees. And you see in the picture, this is an internship and Girls' Day combined that secondary school students participated to. And you see it's like a new frame of ideas coming out of this interaction with the first time in the workshop, the first time in a company is, let's say, a stereotype male occupation, and you see like what is the impact in these young students participating there. I'm not going to enter in a specific example of a project because this is what Abdelkarim Bergashid from BMCI will be doing in a bit. But just to show, I mean, this is the way, I mean, how we work, and then we will jump in more specifically into an example that has been implemented. What are the results? Because we were talking about women's employment and employment figures and so on. If we look first to the right side, I mean, with the companies we were working, just to give you an example, Vermec, this is an IT company in Tunisia. And thanks to flexible working arrangements, we together managed to reduce the number of people leaving the company from 4% to 0. So as of today, of course, this changes from year to year, but nobody is leaving the company because of lack of flexibility or because they cannot reconcile between family and work. Amen Bank, this is a bank in Tunisia. Then after the project, they succeed into appointing, or during the project, they appointed up to 4 women being head of branch at Amen Bank. Before the project, there was no women head of branch in Tunisia in this bank, and they also increased the numbers of new recruits, female new recruits. I mean, like number of women being recently recruited, from 36% to 45%. This is the tendency. At the end, I mean, in the trend, they will have more balanced numbers. And finally, maybe just the last example. That's what I mentioned before. This is another company in Jordan, Umnia Telecommunications. It was possible to increase the number of women returning from maternity leave from 79% to 100%. This is, and then on the other side, you have like the aggregated results. This is something like we are in development cooperation, and international organizations are very keen of communicating aggregated results so that the public and our organization can see the whole picture that we are contributing to. Just before closing, I hope I was not very quick. Just 2 other things that we do. We cooperate, of course, with business partners, with local business associations to further disseminate the topic and to let's say, make this topic sort of sustainable, or that it's gonna be further developed in the countries on the long run. And for this purpose, we organize together like trainings and events, but there's like also jointly organized gender equality prize with this organization, and equal pay day we organized in Tunisia 2 years ago for the first time. And of course, we make available a number of tools to the companies and business associations to take over the topic. And finally, uh, cooperation between European companies and companies in the Middle East and North Africa. We launched international exchange platform to further bring the topic to help to build bridges between both regions with regards to the topic of women's employment and gender diversity. And for that purpose, we have this platform which has three types of events. We do conference together, we do workshops, and the special feature is a peer-to-peer exchange program between European companies and companies in North Africa and the Middle East. And you have an example here of this peer-to-peer. We brought together Commerzbank and BMCI in Morocco, and during 1 year they exchanged about what they do in their company, so they could further do to further improve diversity and gender diversity in their own companies. Just coming to an end, this is the beginning of this Gender Diversity Circulator International Exchange platform with gender diversity champions from everywhere. We are now about 7 or 8 events already, twice a year, and we are happy to have maybe the next event in April next year. And I think that I'm gonna make a stop here. I'm sure it was a lot of information from them. And now is your time to raise some questions if you have. And if you want to go to, let's say, further questions, then we will keep them for the panel discussion. No? No questions so far? Well, very nice. Then I will like to hand over to Abdelkarim Gergashi. As we mentioned before, Director of Strategy, Quality and CSR at the MENA Paribas and Diversity Champion. And we did a project together, and this is what the presentation is all about.
Thank you. I want to precise that this is me. This is Manfred. This is Manfred before changing his glasses. This is together. And I think that it was the first time you came to Morocco. Yes. This is me. Thank you. I'm really very happy to be here and to share with you a nice achievement with JZ. Thank you very much for JZ, for Maria, for Hello, to invite me to share with you. I will ask you to excuse my English. I will do it in English, but if I'm a lack of vocabulary, I have an angel to help me and to give me words if I need it. So, I'm here to share with you a story of a success. A success, the components of this success is a partnership between a Canadian GZ project and a bank. The bank is BMCI. BMCI is a subsidiary of a big group in the world, BNP Paribas. BMCI, And the issue, the subject is gender diversity. You know, in BNP Paribas, gender diversity and globally diversity is one of the most important principles in the group. And the maturity of diversity is different from country to country. It's not the same. And it began in, in BMCI since 2013. We began to reflect on gender diversity in the bank, and we aim to achieve a good and a goal to make it at the high standard we can get, like we see in the European or in the group and in the European countries where the group is present. And this is the title of presentation. I want to begin with this. When you see this, at the beginning, the parity was about 43, 44 of women. And we begin to reflect on gender diversity, but really, I can say that we try to do many things, but somewhere we improvise. We improvise to empower women in our bank. But and we were also looking for all opportunity, all seminars, all training that can help us to make things more professional and in a good way. And we met at this time GZ Economy with the program public-private sector, and we find that this is a good opportunity to make more professional our action, and we sign up this collaboration. That was the beginning of really a nice project for gender diversity. This figures hide um, many things because we can't see the what we call the glass ceiling in the company. We are 45 or 44 parity, but the question is, where are women? What is about empowering women? What is the place of women? And when we began the job with Econowin, the first thing was it's about an audit, the audit, and to understand the situation in the bank and to identify leverage on which we must act, we must develop in order to get to achieve high standards. This is a nice souvenir that happens in 2015, and we sign up the project with the goal is to make fundamental um, principles for gender diversity. This is me. This is Maria. This is, I think, he was the director in Morocco or the region. This is, and that was very important to onboard all executive members of the, with the CEO of the bank. That was very important to have the support of the CEO of the bank. So I don't want to share with you technical things, but the most things to retain is that there was a professional plan, an action plan, very professional, which combined training, which combined communication, which combined um, making examples of success, career success of women to others, and to uh, to it's like to say to women, you must be a part to this program, and you must look for high and high level of your career, and you will be here. So the management is here to support you, to help you to get to high level of management. Don't uh, don't stay and wait. And the monitoring, to control, to pilot things by figures and by KPIs. So, and thank you very much to my friend Manfred. This is one of the best initiatives integrated in Econom because when I share my KPIs and my process with Manfred, it was really very generous and very kind. He told me, "Oh, you have nice KPIs, you have nice things," but he gave me many ideas. Specifically, if you remember about maternity leave in Morocco, and specifically in BMCI, when a woman go for maternity leave, we forget her until coming back. And when she comes back, wow, welcome you. You're if 3 months late, if she didn't go more than 3 months, so she will take the same position job. But she take more than 3 months because our social advantages. She can go more than 1 year for as maternity leave. Generally, she must wait for a post for a new position, and that's where a big problem. After meeting Manfred, I come back to the company and we make a workshop specific on this, and we understood that it's not a problem. We must keep touch with women, even if she is on maternity leave, and we can welcome her also for training, for seminars, for conferences, and we can inform her that about what is happening in the bank, and when she will come, that will be just natural come back to the company. Thank you very much, and we exchange for many other issues. And another also another jump, another step. We signed up to the 7 principles of women empowering empower principles. This is very important. Signing convention like this that will be like a frame, um, gate fine for our action. So we can measure. We can measure if we are uh, going growing positively or not. And we have done many initiatives in the bank uh, about communication. Communication is very important inside the bank. It's very important. So we make a newsletter specifically for diversity. And as we achieve nice results, we try also to influence other companies. So we create a club of gender diversity, and we sign a charter with uh, uh, about 12 companies, 12 companies, and all of them are supported by their um, group from Paris. And now you will see that this figure, this curve, hides those uh, those figures, those KPIs, which were in 2012 was less better than in 2014. And we will see that the women, we grow from uh, 42 to 40 to 51%, back to the poverty. But we have for many times no women in the conseil de surveillance. Yes. And now we have 3 women in the conseil de surveillance. The COMEX, we were less than this. I remember that at this time there were no women, or just one. Now there's more than 33%. And director of entity is a manager. It's a high level in branches in a bank. It's a manager about 100 people. And now we have 30%. Director de zone. Director de zone is a woman who managed about 500 to 600 collaborators. That's a really very high position in the bank. And now half of those managers are women. And really, in a business, it gets nice and high level of added value. And women in the EXCO, the executive committee, they go what level 50%. So really, I think that those figures is very important for us. The next step is to sustain, to make it sustainable in time. This is very important for us. So if you have questions, thank you very much.
Congratulations. Any questions so far? So then I would like to go to the next presentation and welcome our speaker, Manfred Böhrmann, Director at Commerzbank for Human Resources Product Strategy and Diversity Management. And he will talk about Commerzbank's gender diversity management topics and challenges and about his experience at the Gender Diversity Circulator. Thank you, Manfred.
Thank you very much, everyone. Welcome from my side, and thank you very much, Karin, for the nice pictures you made for me. And now you see my new glasses. I hope you like them. When I have a look at the figures from BMCI, I must say, in some aspects, you're better than Commerzbank now. So you made a lot of speed and pressure on your projects, and sounds very nice. Yes. I want to begin with a quote from our CEO, Martin Zieke, and he said, "Gender equality is an integral part of our corporate culture. We continuously work on advancing it." Okay, that's right. But we needed, I think, 30 years to come to the point where we are now. We started in the mid-80s with a program called Women in Banking, because we saw that there came a lot of well-educated women into the bank. It wasn't before in the 50s or 60s, but came in the 70s and 80s. And they forced us to do something for them. They want to have better positions, a better salary, and so on. And so we said we have to be a front runner in some aspects, and we were the first company in Germany at the late 90s with an emergency care for children, for example. Or we were co-founder of mentoring programs in Germany. We have childcare facilities, flexible working time, a lot of measures and actions to support work-life balance, to give especially women better chances to have success in their career. And last year we have the first woman in the board. Remember, 30 years of struggling for women, and now we have the first out of 7 board members. Is it a success? I think yes, it is one. The bank is, I think, more than 100 years old, founded in 1870. So you see, it's a long time to come to success. And Bettina Orloff, she came from McKinsey, and she was responsible for the yearly study concerning gender diversity management, so she has a close relation to this topic, and she is a very good supporter for our actions and measures. Today, every third position in the bank is held by a woman. We started in 2010 with a project called Women in Management Positions with 23%, and now we made every 1% per year. Doesn't sound very much, but if you see that we had around 4,500 management positions, and I think around 300 to 400 changed in a year. So 1% is a success in my opinion. But now we have new topics to discuss because we see that there is a stop in the development. So we have the glass ceiling that Karim mentioned to the top positions. So I think we have 34 or 35 on the lowest level 4, around 28, 30 to 30 on the third level. And then they have this glass ceiling only 50% or 20% of the second level, and so on and so on. So we have a real problem. And even if we have a lot of programs, measures, doing a lot, it's not so easy to find new ideas, new solutions. Because, for example, we see that especially women complain that there is not enough support from women who are managers. That's a point. Yeah? Or we try to bring women in the management positions, in higher positions, and they say, oh, I'm not interested in that. Huh? Because there's so much responsibility in the higher level, so much time needed. So it's very different. And we see young men discuss the same things with us. So they're talking about, oh, work-life balance is important for me. I will care for my children, care for my family, care for my parents, for example. And we don't have the opportunity to do it in a job with high responsibility. So we have to find new solutions, new ideas, and that's why I'm very happy that we could join the project. Diversity and diversity management is much more than gender. This is our diversity cloud, diversity inclusion cloud, and you see we deal with all of these fields of action. For example, inclusion of people with disabilities is very important for us. We started in 2016 with a big project, made an action plan for inclusion at the first bank in Germany. Karim, I gave this plan to you and hope it's the next thing we are talking about, because we have the same problems in Morocco too, or in Northern Africa. How to include people with disabilities in the companies. And we need these talents. We are talking about talents, not about discrimination and problems. We need the competencies of people, competencies of women, competencies of people with disabilities too. So it's not only gender diversity management. Yes, I told you we have more than 30% women in the group. In management positions, we have more than 50% women in the company as a whole. So there is a lot of potential to bring more women in the management positions. We did a lot in concerning childcare, elder care. We spend a lot of money every year, I think 2.5 million to have these childcare opportunities, cost-free advisory. If you have children, you get 25 days a year free, cost-free, caring for the children if you are on holidays, for example. So there's a lot we are doing. We are giving money to those who need money for caring at home. So everything is done, but it's not enough to bring women into higher positions. That's the point. We see it's not only something we are doing for our own employees. We have a social responsibility as a big company in Germany or in the global world. And so we are members of the Diversity Charta für Vielfalt. I think this is a charter you have in other countries too. It's worldwide. We are part of the Proud at Work Foundation for LGBT community. You know what LGBT is? Yes, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender community. We have one of the, I think, the biggest employee network for LGBT people in the bank. So we are very attractive, number one employer for the LGBT community. And with Courage, we have one of the biggest female networks in Germany. So very engaged people in now 7 networks in the bank. We signed the UN empowerment principles like BMCI did, but we did it this year. you started in 2015. So again, he's first. And we are, since the beginning of 2017, we're a member of the Unternehmensforum for Inclusion of People with Disabilities. And this is something I like very much to talk about because it's a point where we discuss with the public sector intensively about this. And they help us with money, even with money, to support people with disabilities, say finance, for example, workplaces, and so on and so on. And we have interested to support people with disabilities because we need that talent and the competencies, as I talked before. Will today's concepts and answers work in the future? I don't think so. I mentioned that, especially in the gender diversity area, it's not enough to care for work-life balance or open career paths and so on. Because that's true too. In a world characterized by globalization and digitization, the exchange of ideas is very necessary. And ideas are not only coming from European or developed countries. Ideas are coming too from North Africa. Yeah? I was very surprised when Gary told me that they have more women in management positions than we have when we talked in the end of 2016. But they did it in another way than we did it. We developed it over 30 years. And here there was a CEO who said, I want it, and he did it. Yeah? He just promoted women, and yeah, that's a different way. But we can learn from each other. Yeah. We had the chance to join the project with the GIZ and different European companies and North African companies, and I had the pleasure to be the one who could cooperate and in the end meet everyone in Berlin in our represidency and at the Brandenburger Tor in Berlin. I think it was a very nice event. My colleagues in Berlin said it was one of the best in the recent years that they had because it was very open, very interesting discussions. A lot of people had the first contact with people from Northern Africa discussing gender diversity or diversity mentioned as a whole. It brought a lot of ideas, creativity, and I was very happy that we could do this in Berlin in our company. And I think my time is over now. I end with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Manfred. Thank you for hosting us last year during the conference also, and congratulations also for your efforts. Is there any question right now, pressing question? No? So I would like to hand over to our last speaker of the day before going into panel discussion, Malin Elanda Ojero, about financial.
So, yeah, I'm working in the European Commission here, and actually in the corporation.
In the unit for regional cooperation and on for the neighborhood south, so that means Margaret and Mashup countries, and on private sector development through blending. Blending means, if you're not familiar with that, that we mix European Commission grants with loans from European finance institutions, like European Investment Bank, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, the German KfW, and the French Agence Mattress. So, and I've been very delighted and pleased to hear about the results that Commerzbank and BMCI and GIZ have obtained until now. What I will present is not so much about results because it's a quite young recent initiative. But you have really raised my expectations on the results, and you will see why. So this initiative is called the EU Institute of Financial Inclusion and was prepared in a partnership between the Commission and the European Union with the bank that I just mentioned. And it's really to expand financing to micro 5 different programs with different types of financial tools. And this is a lot about financial tools that we're doing, together with technical assistance for capacity building and tailor-made advisory services to MSMEs. The objective is to enhance access to finance to underserved MSMEs, and what we mean with that is women-led MSMEs or youth-led startups. But also MSMEs in remote areas in the neighborhood side. And as I said, we do that through a lot of financial tools. So investment into equity funds, venture capital funds, traditional credit lines, and also credit lines to microfinance institutions and leasing companies as well, and investment into the leasing companies. We cover countries like Egypt, Jordan, Lebanon, Morocco, Palestine, and Tunisia. And this is a quite big initiative. We have put in 175 million. The total cost, investment cost is 1.2 billion, and we hope to reach out to as many as 200,000 MSMEs. And I said this is about 5 different programs. I wanted to focus on one program which we have defined and we're implementing together with the European Bank of Reconstruction and Development. It's called the EU EBRD South and East Mediterranean Financial Inclusion Program. It's targeting Egypt, Jordan, Morocco, and Tunisia. And I wanted to highlight what we do in Morocco as BMCI is present here today. In Morocco, we will target only women. It's a component which is called Women in Business. It's a program that EBRD has done since 10 years, but not in Morocco. They have done it in Turkey, in Western Balkans, and the Eastern neighborhood. So it's the first time we launched this in the Southern neighborhood. And it's a program which combines credit lines from the EBRD and together with a first loss risk sharing mechanism that we European Commission cover for, and this is also combined with the business advice, so technical assistance both to BMCI and BMCE, which is the Moroccan Commerce Extender. And this component amounts to 40 million. And the eligible companies are women-led companies, and women need to be responsible for the overall management or the operational management, and all the equity needs to be, the ownership of all the equity needs to be women. So we have discussed this quite a lot with EBRD, and as we don't have any results yet for Morocco because they launched as late as in September this year, I wanted to put the accent on some key factors for the successful implementation that they have experienced in the past. And that is, of course, the capacity building both for the financial intermediaries, so the local banks, to develop internal capacities and the skills needed to help and serve the women-led MSMEs. But also tailor-made advisory and entrepreneur skills to these companies, women-led companies. So what they will start to do is a baseline assessment for the local banks, for the partner finance, to understand the challenges and opportunities of the women entrepreneurs. So what is needed also is a tailor-made solution. So each market has its own conditions and particularities. So it's important to take into account the market. And also, the local banks may have a very specific approach and depends also very much on what the strategy is if they have a long term. What is also important is to have local consultants, which bridges between the local bank and the company. And least, and last but not least, the strategic commitment from the management of the local bank. So to conclude, I would say that GIZ, Commerzbank, and BMCI have really prepared the ground for the success of what we can do there together with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And I would suggest if you have any questions related to this contribution, then if not, we're going to the yes, one question.
Very good. I'm Lars Conrad from the Commission DEFCO. But just to understand, are there financial incentives to the local banks or better conditions for the lending to the female companies, or what are the drivers also to make this move ahead? Yeah.
The drivers are to have in a long-term perspective, be able to transform the skills and to the bank, and also the skills to the company, so they don't need our support any longer. So I think that's important.
All right, so I would like to invite our speakers to join the panel. Thank you so much.
And I would like to invite the audience to prepare a lot of questions, of course. So our topic today was or is partnerships for development in cooperation with the private sector. So I just would like to I would like to have a question for you. Like when we talk about employment promotion today, are they institutions for international development too focused on cooperating with the public sector? Let's say not using the potential that the private sector brings. What do you think?
Yeah, I think is that working?
Yeah.
It is really clean and has not feeling any So, thank you for the question. To be very honest, it's of course fake question because I was the only one not presenting, and so I present a little bit now, but I keep it very deep, and I do it early without any PowerPoint. And by the way, contact is so wonderful. It's very nice. Yeah. Your question, of course, government is responsible over. Yes, as you all know, our primary partner are government. So there would be not one thing that doesn't act without a bilateral agreement or whatever agreement with government. Nevertheless, I think yes, I think we have to cooperate much more with the private sector. And not only now having these success stories, which of course I think brought into evidence why the private sector is exclusively our partner to promote employment in terms of female employment in this regard. But on a more general level, I'd say if we miss private sector, then we miss innovation. And this is what sometimes is what we experience in the countries in our partner countries, where working just with government or just with civil society, missing out the private sector. We miss the engine for employment, where I think we all have no doubt who is creating employment, that's the private sector. So there's no other sector involved. And government, of course, has to provide the, let's say, the frame conditions for employment, for promotion. So if we miss out, then I think that would be a great loss.
Martin, how do you see it from the perspective of the EU Commission? Do we need to cooperate much more with the private sector? What do you see? I think that what we see nowadays in the Commission, we're going through quite interesting times because we are increasing our partnership with the private sector. And we are in the future will become less a donor and more, let's say, an investor, because we are going to work much more with guarantees and financial instruments. And then the private sector will be the natural partner for us. I think there are two aspects, two ways in which we work with private sector. Is either the support to the private sector in these countries, but as we also want to have a leverage effect of our own funds and bring in third-party funds, it is also important that we get private sector on board and that we can have them as a financier in our program. I think that's very important.
What about the temperature?
What does the audience think? Do we really need to focus much more in the private sector? How do you feel? Raise your hands, the ones, yes, private sector. Private sector. Please, would you like to share maybe one highlight or to understate your opinion?
Thank you very much. My name is Elna Pau. I'm representing my own company. It's a company specialized on equity financial instruments, where I have seen many initiatives aimed to strengthen the collaboration between the public and private sector. Is crucial. It's crucial to really get the private sector for the same reason as you have explained. The private sector is identifying innovation can happen everywhere, but it's the private sector that has the skills and the know-how of how to support and build growth companies and growth companies. So I think it's very, very important to collaborate and to really empower, to put forward instruments that are attractive and that will act as an incentive for the private sector to come in. It's very, very important not to crowd out the private sector, but to collaborate together with the private sector. Thank you.
Any other opinion over there? Thanks.
Hello, I'm Benedict Dino from Business Europe, the European Employer EU level or European level Employers Association. Our members are employers associations of 34 European countries. I completely agree with what's been said.
Is it working?
I completely agree with what has been said about the importance of the private sector. Also, our position is that the private sector must be much more involved in development efforts and development policy. We also see the external investment plan as an important initiative in this regard and are closely following its implementation. Because if you look at the Sustainable Development Goals, it's clear that they can only be reached on time if a multi-stakeholder approach is taken, and the necessary investments can only be met if the private sector is closely involved. If you look at Africa, for example, I think up to 1.2 trillion euros additional investments per year will be necessary to meet the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030, and this quantity can only be leveraged if the private sector is invested and if public funds are indeed used as a leverage for private investment.
Thank you. So it seems everybody in the room is already convinced, and we can go to the next message, the how.
Hildegard, you have spent like the last at least 10 years in North Africa in several employment promotion projects and always in this public-private partnership for employment. Maybe you can share with us how common is this PPP in GIZ? Is it difficult to get companies on board for employment promotion?
Yeah, a bit the view in the kitchen, I would say. We at GIZ, of course, we are talking a lot about public-private partnership and cooperation with the private sector. And I think at the same time we have to be self-critical as well as an organization. And what I experienced since I'm working in the MENA region mainly with the private sector for mainly employment promotion, not only with a focus on gender, is one of the big challenges where we would find the interface, meaning the common ground for our cooperation team. And there's one, let me call it big understanding sometimes, misunderstanding sometimes. We as GIZ, of course, we're coming from the public sector, meaning we are the social interest. And we are the public, we are representing the public. Private sector, sure, is representing business interest. So that's basic. We find it very often, if we come into very concrete cooperation schemes, that somehow the GIZ adheres to the Department of Social Responsibility, and in the sense, which you have another interpretation, but so the BMCI is very, very bound in that, but sometimes in the sense of the more philanthropic, the doing good, if you understand what I mean. And if we as GIZ would cooperate with these departments of the enterprises, just to doing good, the philanthropic part, as somehow being a kindergarten in the community and things like that, then that's fine, because both parties would do the good things, but at the same time, we're not talking about public-private partnership. We are talking about public-public partnership. We're very on the same page. Nothing against, but the next question is how sustainable would that be? And we appear very much that sustainability comes from the joint idea of business interests, like not sacrificing at all business interests in the whole thing, and at the same time to combine that smartly with a social interest. And this is what we call public-private partnership. And that would be an honest partnership, because that would not be dependent from what we have as well as yearly discussions of the household in the company. We talk about doing good and philanthropic things. If things are getting tight, that's done. Yeah, then the money is not there anymore. If we talk about business interests, then that would be a sustainable partnership. And I think this is the tricky part where the public side always has to negotiate and to be very clear. This is where we would look for. This is where we have to focus on. And this is exactly what we did with you as a discussion. And this is what we do with 24 companies right now in the frame of our program. And I think that we work, as we can see, the projects are running. They're running in a sustainable way. Does it tell something is that understandable?
More clear, what does it mean concretely? You go there to the company, say, hello, we are GIZ and we want to do something with you, and how do you find this common language? Or what is the common point that you can find between the social or, let's say, sustainable development goals that we have and the business case that companies probably need to take action and put money aside for that? What is the link? What is the common language?
To take your example, Manfred, of the disabled persons in the Commerzbank, we can play the Mother Teresa, let me put it like that, as a company and say, for these poor persons, we have to include them. Poor. Able. That would be doing the good thing. Nothing against. I'm a complete fan of Mother Teresa, by the way. But in the same time, we have another idea, another perspective in saying, well, a person with a certain disability is a huge potential in case as a performing person in our company, which relates very much to our return of investment in human resources, which relates to business case. And here exactly is the discussion. Same thing with gender. You can say, okay, it's just about gender equality. and we would discuss in companies endlessly, especially in the MENA region. They would say, yeah, cool thing, but you see, politically, we have no time and might be not the budget to somehow promote it. But in the same time, if gender diversity is considered as with the BMCI as business case, not to lose 50% of female potential labor force, then we come right to the discussion where business interest, meaning returning of investment in human resources, combines very nicely with promoting gender equality. This is what I mean to find the space where business interest relates very much to the social interest. That's it.
Thank you very much. Hello. I take over the gender argument now. You must imagine that a lot of women are customers of Commerzbank, and what will be the view on Commerzbank by women? So if we only foster men. So it's a business case for us to make clear that women are important for us. They're important as talents, with their competencies, as employees, and as customers too. And it's the same with people with disabilities. I will mention a few figures. We have around 87 million inhabitants in Germany, and nearly 10 million have a disability. So we know statistically that they have a disability, maybe wheelchairing, not hearing, not seeing, and so on, or diabetics and so on. And we have 18 million customers of Commerzbank. So if you make a simple mathematics, so you know 1 million, around 1 million are customers in the bank. If we cannot guarantee that they get a barrier-free entrance in our branches or barrier-free online banking, we will lose them as customers. And we made it clear to the board, if we do not invest in inclusion of people with disabilities, we lose customers and we lose employees. We were the first to have a close look. Employees with disabilities in the bank, who are they? You see somebody in a wheelchair and you say, oh, he's not fast enough. Yeah? Or somebody doesn't hear, okay, he cannot do the work. That was a position in the last years. Now, statistically, we showed the management that more than 40% of our employees with disabilities work in higher positions. Nobody knew this before until we showed these. Yeah? So it opens minds. Yeah? If you have a different view on this, and the same with gender, I don't like to talk about the women's problems of discrimination of women. I'm talking about equality. And we name this action field not women anymore, it's called women and men, or men and women. So, and the problems women have in the company are sometimes the same problems men face. Yeah? So the work-life balance discussion is not only a female discussion. Nowadays, it's a discussion young men do also. So that is what I mentioned with a slide. Do we have the right answers today? No, we don't. Yeah? We have to discuss it in a completely new aspect.
There's so many topics right now.
Any question from the audience? And about we talk about how to find common ground between the, let's say, public sector or development organizations and the private sector. And now we talk how to find. I mean, how do you found your business case and to bring further the subject? But yeah.
I just want to add the mission partnership with the European Public Finance Institution that we work with. It has been a really long journey. We started in 2008, and by that time, it was not obvious at all to have them agree on our policy objectives, because they were more interested in getting their deals. Although they're a public bank, they are also the business interest. So nowadays, that doesn't raise at all as much problems as it did 10 years ago. By that time, they wanted to focus more on medium-sized enterprises and corporates, whereas we didn't want to cover those publicly. We are more on micro, small, and companies, and
think that with Wasima, well, the unique coming from the north of Africa. I want to talk about, you talk about health and public, the partnership public and private. And the key question was how do you approach, how do you make interest from the private companies in those countries? There is no answer. There is no unique answer. Your JZ comes from government sector, the public sector, but it's also European. Yes, it comes from Europe. It's totally different from North Africa and the Middle East. Totally different. I think that there is a key word that was used by the team I met 4 years before is progressivity. You can't change mentality and culture like you can switch lights. You have to understand behavior, understand culture. That doesn't mean that there is a culture better than our model. It's not. The question is, how can I help? How can I? If it can begin by philanthropy, perhaps it can be important to begin with philanthropy. If the business is the drive, it can begin as the business. But we must identify the best door to knock in order to begin with the launch. And finding good examples. I think BMCI and other enterprises, other companies was a good example to begin and to be the to show success for others in the la sauce platform. How we can say it? Yes, to connect and to like la boule de neige. Yeah, it's like a snowball. It become a success for all the country. It's very important. We are also talking about somewhere very sensible uh, issues. When we talk about women in Muslim countries, it's a little bit different. I think we must understand the culture, the relation to those issues. When we talk about disability, also it's not easy. LGBT also, it's not easy to talk about it in our country. Not because we are against it. No. In our culture, Moroccan, I can talk about Moroccan culture, we hide it. We don't talk about disability. We don't talk about when you are lesbian or homosexual. You don't talk about it. That's this. You must not exhibit it. And also about disability. So we can change minds for society, but progressively. We can do things in a brutal way. We must find which is the way will influence the society or and begin always by the intellectual, by the best tool we can begin. And definitely that will succeed.
I may add on what you are saying, talking about change and culture change. To come back a little bit to your question again, how would we as you said, approach you? And I think another success factor of public-private partnerships is that the companies are coming to us. And this is what we do via call for proposal. That means it is not that we are seeking or acquiring private sector, could you please cooperate with us, but rather the other way around, to create this buzzword ownership in terms of, yeah, if a company is coming along with a good project, we would select it. And this changes completely the partnership, because then it is not that we would support the company in coming up with this or that idea, but rather the idea is already there, and we jointly design then just the way how we could proceed in these sensitive issues we just mentioned. I think this is very important.
Now it seems like public-private partnership is the highway to heaven. But let's talk a little bit about challenges. Um, Maybe, I don't know, would you like to say something about challenges? Do you like to share your experience, or where do you potentially see challenges arising? Yes. Hi, my name is Eva. I'm working in the European Parliament for the EPP group, and I have a question concerning the challenges. Future investment in the private sector is the problem of brain drain increasing. Because I could imagine that young, very well educated women, also men, go to Europe instead and don't work for the original country.
Who would like to answer this question? Yes.
I could have an answer, but I'm the facilitator. So.
Anybody wants to introduce?
We so just coming to experiences, very practical experiences. Never we have experience because the objective of cooperating with companies is for us not that much into training. And I think if it comes to, we are about recruitment, so to recruit more women, to recruit more youth people and so on, so forth. But if it comes to training, I think you hit the point. Whereas discussions with Mercedes, for example, in Egypt, we did a project together with Mercedes years ago, and they told us now we have to be careful because 3 out of 4 candidates trained by as mechatronics would learn to use it. So there you hit the point, and I think they're not really good recipes to there is no recipe, to be very honest, because it would be okay. Then we should leave the training, which is obviously not a good solution. So rather to provide training for enough persons so that it would not matter speculation.
Bien compris, c'est-à-dire que si jamais la coopération publique-privée va favoriser la fuite des cerveaux des pays d'Afrique vers l'Europe. Why not? Why not? Yes. It's a joke answer. You can be sure that I feel, this is a personal opinion, I think that GZ and all programs like GZ, Junior European, all those programs, their goal is not to be for forever in the logic of assistance. The goal, the main goal is to um, grant the grains, the, the, the plant seeds, and those programs will be very happy and proud when those seeds will become big and productive tree. When we talk about gender diversity, they, the program EconoWin can't be for forever. It must stop one day. But the achievement of the EconoWin is when the society, companies in Morocco, other countries, will hold involve this program and to spread it in all the society. That will be just the same. Training, developing new competencies in those countries that will just make the environment, business environment, and the society uh, um, better for people, and they will save and they will invest in and trust this country. And the result will be that perhaps some few brains will migrate to Europe. But those brains, they will migrate because they are looking for very high challenges. And that's like Europe and the United States. Yeah, Montagnier, who left France to the United States because he reached a high level of research in biological way, and he migrated to the United States in order to achieve other challenges and other success. That will be in this way, but the most people will stay in these countries and that they will be proud to stay in this country because the environment will be better and will be more attractive for them. This is the opposite what we
I completely agree with you on that, and I think that governments have a huge importance and huge responsibility in order to enhance the business climate. And so the micro and small companies which constitute the big majority of the private companies in these countries, so they stay and they develop. So personally, I can see why the brain drain towards Europe is planning to develop sector.
Any other comment about China from the audience?
Please.
Thank you. My name is Mattress. I'm from SIDA, the Swedish Development Agency. I'm based here in Brussels at the Swedish representation. I'm not really sure if this is a challenge, but I would be very curious to know, you talked about cultural shifts. How has the father justice been received and likewise the graduate change? By the other colleagues, the maid, are they entering? So that's the first question. The second one, about public that the way that is there is sort of cost sharing formula, or so there is some sort of
only our those management plans predatory yeah, decided that when I was the chief of department, still at the beginning, I was not allowed to talk about gender, but I have done this program in Poland. I experienced before, and there was some paradigm, and some they consider that there are some areas in Morocco which tend to be held by women. When we go in Nador and those east, northeast of Morocco, south of Morocco, or some region outside Casablanca and Beach, they consider that it's not possible to, for women to be uh, um, commercial or the face to the client. That was not easy to change mind. But I will tell you a story about how there was in the northeast of Morocco, about the BMCI. We have about 25 branches there, and there was 70% men. And I remember I get the CD of a brilliant girl. She was mature of promotion, and she was coming from this. And I proposed her to go and take the interview with the manager of the business. And she told me, I want this. So I explained him one is the best of purple. Second, she is from this region. Third, she spent many really in this region, the companies of this region. And I'm sure that by being commercial in this region, you will get better results than all men you can recruit. And if she didn't succeed, you can be sure that the are bad men. So he welcomed her for the interview, and 10 minutes later, he stopped the interview and he called me, you are right. This is awesome, brilliant person I have never met. And this girl see wonderful. This is so to come back when it's not a question about mathematics or mechanic or technical tools to implement gender diversity. There are professionals. They make baseline assessments, make action plans,
But there is some key success factors. Those key success factors, the first one is the conviction, the strong belief of the number one of the company. If the number one is not convinced that important, you must not begin, must not be punished. The first. This is the first thing. The second thing is the approach. Approach, it must never be against something or someone. Like slavery. Must not be. When you talk about quota, it's just we can't be convinced. And when we talk about quota, I think it's a negative point for one. Excuse me, when we quand on passe un concours, when we compete for a concours for HEC or Polytechnic or big high universities in the world, we don't say there is a quota for women, there is a quota. No. And generally, we have women at the highest level of. So the approach is very important. To understand why you are doing it. If you do it because it's a favor for women, stop. Don't do it. And I'm sure that women also will tell you, no, I'm not voting for it. They are doing things because it's natural, normal, 50% part of the society. That's those things can ensure that will in the women generally hide the frustration, hide this frustration, and when we launch the program, we communicate on it. It was welcomed really proudly by women and men. Now, we have a survey to measure the involvement of people, the employees to this program, and we find that every year it's becoming more important, and the answer is not coming from men or women, it's coming for all. And I think that's something which is now coming in the DNA of the company.
To come to an end, I question, and I will invite you to lunch. Our colleagues here are providing for lunch.
Before I want just one phrase about women in business. I am the project.
You're taking over about the facilitator?
Yes, just very quickly because I'm 1 minute. Just to see that I'm really very happy to see that you are talking about it. It's my program, and I'm proud to see it here because in BMCI it was my initiative, and I do it with the team in UK, and we discuss about more than 7 or 8 months negotiating the contract, all this. This program is answering your question. You have asked me what you would do to sustain this program. So we begin with us, ourselves, make process, and after this, we try to look for companies around us. And now, with this program, with this business, we will onboard our clients. So we will get credit and loans with specific conditions for women entrepreneurs.
So we can put the circle with that, and you should definitely expect business card and have a lunch here on the Toulouse end. And we invite you really to continue this discussion during lunch. Really for
It's 49.
Thank you so much for being here. Please continue to comment on this. discussion was a very nicely and really a lot. And looking forward to the next event.
Thank you.